Razor 94.7 104.7.
Well, hello, Adam from St. Asonia. How's it going, man?
It's going great, man. Going really well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, of course. Well, thank you so much for being here. What's new in your life? How are things going for you?
Things are going really well. I mean, we've aside from having the last couple of years off and not being able to tour and all that stuff, aside from that, things are great. Been doing a lot of writing and spending time with the family at home, and yeah, it's been great. Just starting to gear up now and get a little bit busier. So,
For sure,
but
for
yeah,
sure.
it's been a nice couple of years.
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, I want to tell you first of all that I heard the new Saint Asonia song "Above It All," which comes out tomorrow.
Nice.
It's going to be out by the time everyone is seeing this, but freaking love it. I love the message of the song. I love the way it's recorded.
Cool.
How's it been working on the new album and working on some new material with the guys?
It's been really cool. I mean, we're putting out an EP here shortly called Introvert, and we basically wrote those songs while we were sort of in lockdown and that sort of thing. We couldn't leave, so the writing process was a little bit different and a little bit weird because we were just sending files back and forth. But yeah, I mean, it's been amazing, man, just to write new stuff and have all the guys like Cody and Kale involved in the writing process and all that stuff. It's just been great.
Definitely, man, for sure. Well, in talking about, taking a couple of years off and how crazy everything has been recently, you've been a part of the industry, the live music industry, for many, 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 many years. And you've seen, so many changes, even just outside of what's happened in 2020 on. What do you do to kind of keep your head sane as you kind of walk through all these changes and, see how the industry evolves and moves?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I've just learned over the years that there's certain things that I can't control, and for a long time, for a very long time, I was always just trying to control every situation I was in, and which led me down a path of addiction and stuff as well. So, but once I mean, really just coming to terms with the fact that things change, and there's certain things that are just out of your control. There's nothing you can do about it. So, to sit and overthink it and worry about it and that sort of thing, it's just not worth it. So, I mean, I just try to go with what's happening and do my best to just go with the flow, I guess,
For sure. I mean, that's honestly kind of the best thing that you can do at this point. If it's out of your control, there's absolutely no sense in worrying about it. So, why would you, lay awake at night wondering, what can I do about this one thing that you have no control over? So, it's definitely good to hear you say that. And talking about your heading back to what you said about, you falling down kind of into a dark place and, struggling with addiction for so many years. I know in 2005 you stayed at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health in Toronto. What were some of the things that you kind of took away from that stay? Because I've been in several mental health facilities as well. So I'm curious as to what your experience inside was, and what did you take away from that to apply to your daily life, even outside of controlling your addiction?
Yeah, I mean, back then, in 2005, I had a serious lack of communication. Like I couldn't, I had a really hard time telling people how I felt. And I tended to really want to people please and make, just do what people wanted me to do. So, and at the time, I was thrown into quite the situation with a new band that was successful very quickly. So I got thrown into a situation I wasn't ready for. But a lot of it was, I just didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to ask people for help and that sort of thing. And pretty young. So, it kind of makes sense at that age. It's tough to ask for help for sure. So I think that was the biggest thing. I went into Center for Addiction and Mental Health in Toronto for a little bit, and then I came out and I ended up relapsing and going through the whole thing again a few years later. And it's taken a few times in and out of facilities just to straighten myself out. but yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is communicating and just really knowing myself and knowing when I need help, that I can ask for it, and I'm surrounded by the right people that care about me.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Definitely. And talking about the the fact that you relapsed and you had to go, back for help a second time, learning how to
Hmm.
ask for help. I feel like there's such an attitude when it comes to addiction that people are like, well, why can't you just put it down? Like, why, you're
Hmm.
doing this thing that's hurting you, just stop. And
Right.
it's not that easy to just stop. And you've
No.
been, very open about your struggles. And what was kind of that moment where you really decided, I have to focus on myself, I have to get better? How did that kind of pop up for you?
Well, I tell you, it was pretty recent actually, because in 2017, I went into a treatment center. I was doing some solo acoustic shows in Canada, and I had relapsed and I was using at the time. So this wasn't that long ago at all. And at the time, my wife was pregnant, so we had a weird situation where I was on the road, and friends of mine and my tour manager and some friends intervened after one of the shows, and basically sent me to Nashville to a treatment center. And so I ended up there, and it was a really rough situation. I ended up in an institution for a couple weeks because my mind wasn't right. Um, and at that time, when I was in the hospital, my son was born, so in Minnesota. So I wasn't there for him being born, and that was when I started to come around in the hospital. That's and I saw his picture, and people were telling me he was born and stuff. That was the moment for me that I mean, it's no longer about me. So since that day, I've been sober, and I won't be, no plans on going back to a dark place
Mhm.
anytime soon. I don't want my kids to see that version of me ever. So
Well, congratulations, man, both on getting sober, staying sober, and the birth of your child. That's fantastic. First kid, second kid? I can't remember.
he was our first, and
Mhm.
we have since had another one. So we have a 1 year old, and he's almost 5, so four
Mhm.
and a half. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, quite the world for them to be born into at this moment. I'm assuming, as kind of as dad, you have to, prepare your kids to enter the world that is so challenging and so dark at times. How, I mean, how has parenting been for you in terms of dealing with kind of your own internal struggles while also trying to kind of raise them in a world where they'll be okay when it's time for them to eventually get out?
Yeah, I mean, we've just spent so much time, yeah, just raising them, and I really don't have any time to think about myself, to be honest. I mean, I used to, I used to try to go to meetings and stuff every day, and just to keep my head on straight. But I've since not had the time to do that, and it's been okay. I mean, having those 2 kids has been more than enough to keep me occupied and sober, and in a good state of mind. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just really fortunate to be where I'm at.
Mhm. That's fantastic, man. And it's always good to keep your mind distracted for to an extent, to help
Mhm.
keep you out of those dark times. Taking it kind of back into the early 2000s, I want to tell you, just on a personal note, your music that you have written has really helped me personally get through some tough times, especially the stuff that you wrote while you were in the hospital the first time in
Right.
2005. Songs like "Pain," "Never Too Late," "Get Out Alive," "Gone Forever."
Yeah.
What's your process when it comes to articulating your emotions within your music? Because those are very heavy songs, and I
Hmm.
know some people, like, it takes like a week and a half to write a song, that's heavy and emotional, and sometimes it takes like 15 minutes because there's so much in there that you want to just get out.
Hmm.
What's your process for articulating yourself emotionally through music?
Yeah. I mean, those songs, a lot of that stuff was written, while I was in the treatment center there, and a lot of it was actually handwritten just in journals, like not necessarily the full song like from front to back or anything, but I just had so many different verses and notes and different things. So basically that whole record was written in my journal. But yeah, when we got together with the producer and everything to record it, we made some changes and put things in the right spots and stuff. But I think it was kind of different for each song, because I was just more or less writing pieces and things that were coming to me and just putting them in a book and then closing the book. So yeah, and then went back and looked through it, and there's a lot of good lyrics in there, apparently. So yeah, the process is always different though. It's always different, but it wasn't too hard that time around, because I was in a pretty dark spot, and I definitely needed to get some stuff out on paper or singing or whatever it was. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how has that process evolved then, out of being out of that dark place that you were, without having that kind of at the front of your mind? How does your writing process incorporate that stuff now? Is it a similar process to just kind of writing it, forgetting about it, coming back to it later, or what do you do now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit different now because because things change. You get older, and life is different. But for me, I've always been able to find, like, just I don't know if the word is darkness or not, but just I always have an issue with something. It feels like there's always something to write about. You know what I mean? Always, whether it's a personal thing or it's something that like one of my friends is going through that's talked to me about something, or so the process is still kind of the same with the feelings and emotions and getting them out, but maybe the subject matter has changed a little.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And talking about mental health, a big thing that we talk about here at Razor is, like you were talking about, the issues that you had, asking for help and just kind of conveying your emotions to people. Why do you think, and stigma is such a cliche word, but why do you think there's such a stigma with people in general talking about mental health, but musicians and adult men and, people who feel oppressed? Why do you think there's such a stigma that comes with that?
Well, I think it's I mean, a lot of it is just how most feels like most men, and maybe this is changing, but it feels like most guys and are raised to be strong, and it gets ingrained into us in a very early age to be strong and not cry and not show our emotions and that sort of thing. And that can be, obviously it can be lethal, I don't know, to put that. I mean, the way I'm raising my kid is the complete opposite of that. I mean, absolutely whatever he wants to be, and however he wants to act and react to things is totally okay. Just, yeah, a lot of growing up with feeling like you're supposed to be a certain way, and that plays a big part in all of this. I think it's really tough to get out of that. But yeah, I mean, I've done therapy so much, and things like that have helped with all those sort of feelings too. So yeah, but it's crazy. I think we're just sort of conditioned to be sort of strong, which is bullshit.
No, 100%.
Uh,
And your kids will be stronger because of it, the way that you're upbringing them. So that's fantastic.
Hope so. That's it.
What are some of the things, real quick, before I let you go here, that you do just in your day-to-day life to kind of keep your mind occupied? I know parenting is so huge, and you recording an EP with Saint Asonia right now, but what are some of the things that you do that you think other people can incorporate maybe into their day-to-day lives to keep your head above water in this crazy world?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely I'm fortunate to be able to sort of lose my my mind and into the kids and stuff, but at the same time, I'm always sort of writing songs or writing lyrics or words or whatever. So I mean, just for me personally, it's always been art in some way, writing music or writing a story or, anything, stuff like that is, I mean, for me, it's really important to continue that. As soon as I start to lose that, it being the creative side, as soon as I start to lose touch with the creative side inside me, I get very, I just turn into a different person, and I can feel it, and that I don't like it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if that's something that, that feels right, I'd suggest doing that. I think everybody loves to draw and write and, even watch movies and listen to music. It's
Mhm.
those are things that really, really help, in my opinion.
Definitely so important to keep your mind occupied. Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, man.
Really, really appreciate it. Next time St. Asonia is on the road, be sure to swing by Northeast Wisconsin. We'd love to have you.
Oh, we will. We will. Absolutely, man. 100%.
For sure. All right. Take care, Adam. Great talking to you today,
Thanks,
man.
buddy. Appreciate it, man. Take care.